These are the weirdest sci-fi movies from the 80s we grew up watching. Killer robots, mutant cockroaches, and the strangest alien fights you've ever seen. Let's get into it. Robot jocks is what you get when you take post-apocalyptic action, Cold War paranoia, and a love for giant robots, and just smash it all together with practical effects. Way before Pacific Rim, this movie already had giant mechs beating the hell out of each other on screen. The setup's simple. After nuclear war, nobody's fighting battles anymore, they're settling territory disputes with massive robot duels. Behind the scenes, things got messy. Stuart Gordon directed, and he brought in sci-fi legend Joe Haldeman to do the script. Gordon wanted campy B-movie fun. Haldeman wanted something serious. They fought about it constantly. Haldeman even said the finished movie was like having a kid that started out well and then sustained brain damage. Production was ambitious for its time. Special effects guys actually built 40-foot robot suits, and everything was done practically, no CGI. Edgar Wright, who did Shaun of the Dead, once said seeing robot jocks as a kid blew his mind. The truth is, the robots and fight scenes are the whole reason to watch this movie. The designs are insane, the animation is wild, and there's just nothing else like it. Megaforce is pure 80s, gold jumpsuits, explosions, and motorcycles that are supposed to fly. It's a sci-fi action movie about an elite secret team that fights evil with every ridiculous weapon you can imagine. The plot's paper thin. Ace Hunter and his crew take on a cartoon bad guy, save the day, and end with a wink to the camera and that immortal line, "The good guys always win," even in the 80s. Nothing matters except the stunts and the vehicles. The tagline said, "Deeds, not words," and the movie actually delivers, if you count endless explosions as deeds. Critics and audiences in 1982 hated it. Nobody wanted a feature-length toy commercial, not even with the Atari tie-in and headbands. Rotten Tomatoes gives it 0% and it bombed at the box office. But time did its thing, and now Megaforce is classic so bad it's good. It's pure B-movie cheese, and people who grew up with it love every second.
Listen, I just wanted to say goodbye and remind you that the good guys always win, even in the 80s.
The Nest is a prime slice of 80s sci-fi horror. It mixes old-school B-movie monster vibes with all-out gore. A quiet island town gets overrun by mutant cockroaches. Not just any roaches, these things are lab-engineered to eat flesh, and once they start mutating, all bets are off. The sheriff, his ex, and a nutty exterminator have to figure it out as bodies pile up and the bugs start fusing with whatever they eat. That means you get stuff like a half-cat, half-cockroach monstrosity, and by the end, a human roach mayor. This is Roger Corman territory, so the budget was low, but the effects team went all in. Puppets, latex, gallons of slime. Director Terrence Winkless made his debut and managed to deliver a ton of gross-out moments, especially in the last half hour when the practical effects go completely wild. The movie's got all the classic bugs attack fun, but with way more splatter than anything from the 50s. Doin' Time on Planet Earth is one of those Canon Films oddities. It's a sci-fi comedy about a teenager, Ryan, stuck in his family's tacky Arizona Holiday Inn with a spinning UFO-shaped restaurant on top. He signs up for a computer dating service to get a wedding date and instead ends up surrounded by UFO cultists led by Adam West, yes, Batman himself, who think he's their long-lost alien prince. The plot just gets weirder, piles on absurdity, and then right when you expect things to tie up, it stops dead. Like the money ran out and they just filmed what they had. The movie cost $27 million and made back basically nothing, about 30,000 grand, a total flop. There are even jokes that maybe all that money went somewhere besides the screen, which knowing canon isn't impossible. It's the feature debut for Charles Matthau, son of Walter Matthau, but neither he nor the lead actor did much after this. People mostly just ignored it, and even Adam West later said it was deservedly forgotten, though he clearly had a blast being as goofy as possible. Arena is exactly what happens when you want Rocky but also want rubber-suited aliens punching each other on a space station. Steve Armstrong is a short-order cook with dreams of becoming the first human to win the intergalactic fight tournament in decades. After accidentally getting into a brawl with an alien in a diner, he's picked up by a promoter and tossed into the ring. It's the ultimate underdog sports movie. Steve trains, faces all kinds of wild alien opponents, and gets his shot at the reigning four-armed champ, Horn. The story is simple, but the effects are what people remember. This was made during Empire Pictures' dying days, so the budget was tight, but they squeezed everything they could out of it. Artists like Screaming Mad George filled the arena with all sorts of bizarre creatures. All of it done practically. No cheap early CGI. Arena never got a wide release, mostly found its fans on VHS and late-night cable, but for a lot of people who saw it as kids, it's pure nostalgia. That Rocky and space pitch might sound dumb, but the movie is just earnest and weird enough that you kinda have to respect it. There's no way to talk about 80s B-movie sci-fi without bumping into Metalstorm. Even the title sounds like it belongs to a Saturday morning cartoon. But what you actually get is a weird mashup: post-apocalyptic desert, space fantasy, and whatever else Charles Band could shove in. You've got evil warlord and his cyborg son terrorizing nomads on the planet Lemuria with some magic crystal. And our hero is just a guy in an armored car. The movie's got all the Mad Max knockoff stuff: mutant scavengers, Cyclops warriors, booby-trapped wastelands. Charles Band was coming off a third hit with Parasite, and you can tell Metalstorm only exists to cash in on that short-lived third-dimension craze. Band showed Universal a flashy 3D reel right when they needed more stuff to follow up. Jaws 3D. So the studio jumped. Universal even gave it a real theatrical push, since they'd just retrofitted theaters for 3D anyway. But it just didn't connect. The effects were cheap, the story barely held together, and the dialogue was pure cheese. The movie ends on an obvious to be continued. They really thought they'd get a sequel. Metalstorm 2 never happened. Charles Band moved on, Universal moved on, and the film just sat there as a one-off oddity. $5.3 million at the box office, and that was it. Space Mutiny is legendary in the world of bad sci-fi, but for all the wrong reasons. Their Southern Sun, a giant colony ship, and security chief Elijah Calgan is staging a mutiny. Dave Ryder, the hero, teams up with the commander's daughter to stop him. It would have disappeared entirely if not for Mystery Science Theater. One episode in 1997 took the film apart, pointed out every hilarious blunder, and the internet never let it go. Sci-Fi fans noticed that about 10 minutes of the space battle footage is just recycled from the original Battlestar Galactica TV show. That's not an exaggeration, literally spliced in. Production was a mess. David Winters started as director, but partway through filming he had to leave for a family emergency, so South African director Neil Sundstrom finished it. Neither man wanted to be associated with the final cut. Winters even tried to get his name removed. The result? Inconsistent tone, constant continuity errors, and a camp classic born out of pure accident. What starts as a Conan-style caveman epic turns into full-on Star Wars mayhem by the final act. This is an Italian import adapted from a miniseries, and it stars Reb Brown as Yor. He's a blonde, muscle-bound wanderer going through a prehistoric wasteland. Then, in the last act, everything flips. Yor finds out he's actually in a post-nuclear world, and the real villain is the Overlord, a straight-up sci-fi bad guy with lasers, android henchmen, and a whole fortress of tech. The movie ends with Yor grabbing a laser gun, joining the rebels, and basically blowing everything up. When this thing hit US theaters in 1983, critics, of course, hated it immediately, even called it one of the stupidest films to emerge from the 1980s. The New York Times famously said, "I didn't see it all and can't imagine who would want to. You never pretended to be good. The special effects, story, and acting are all a disaster, but it's so aggressively weird that it's actually funnier than most comedies. It's the definition of so bad it's good, and honestly, there's not a boring moment." Chopping Mall is the kind of movie you discover on late-night TV and immediately wonder why you haven't seen it before. It's pure 80s. Part slasher, part sci-fi spoof, and 100% mall culture. The Park Plaza Mall has new security, 3 killer robots that are supposed to just stop intruders. Naturally, a lightning storm fries their circuits and turns them into murder machines. Meanwhile, 8 teenagers are throwing a party after hours in a furniture store. You can guess what happens next. The robots lock the mall down and start hunting the kids, picking them off with lasers and darts. The final girl, Allison, ends up fighting back Home Alone style, using whatever she can find in the stores as weapons. The movie was first released as Killbots and flopped. Nobody knew it was actually a comedy. Roger Corman's company pulled it, changed the title, and re-released it, but it was still ignored in theaters. On VHS, though, Chopping Mall picked up a real cult following. It's fast-paced, funny, and self-aware, and it's proof you don't need a big budget to be a cult classic. TerrorVision is a movie that couldn't exist in any era but the 80s. It's a sci-fi horror comedy that roasts cable TV culture. The Putterman family is pure caricature. Swinger parents obsessed with their hot tub, a punk daughter, and a little brother into military stuff. They install a new satellite dish and end up beaming in a shape-shifting alien blob directly into their living room. The alien oozes out of the TV, starts eating the family, and that's pretty much the plot. The jokes are as broad as the acting, and the movie never tries to take itself seriously. It bombed in theaters, and critics didn't get it, especially since it was parodying the 80s before half the country even realized how ridiculous the 80s actually were. But on VHS and late-night cable, it found its audience. By the 2010s, Scream Factory even put out a deluxe Blu-ray.